I'm told it is almost time to drink beer, and I should make this very quick. So we will do that. If I could have the lights, and hopefully the first... No, I don't deal with Gunnison State now. We'll try to make this quick. We'll be the third group in, Tom. There we go. Okay, earlier I said that we had a scale aspect to habitats, to sage-grouse habitats. We need to understand a little bit better how much, or maybe just answer the question, how much is enough when it comes to habitat? It's a commonly asked question. The common answer is, we don't know. But let me give you some ideas about, in terms of where we need to go. This is the upper snake. As it stood in 1975, keep your eye, Table Butte area that I talked about a few minutes ago, keep your eye on this area again, in this area. We have breeding populations there and here. Okay, and you can see that over a relatively short period of time, we've had a tremendous development of agriculture, largely potato fields here, folks. And then, as I indicated earlier, closing off of these migration routes. Birds from this area move up into this country. They'll nest here. They will summer here. Birds here will go to Montana. Okay? Birds from here may end up over here, and I'll give you another example in a minute. Sage grouse use very, very large chunks of real estate. For one breeding population, defined as birds breeding on leks in this area only, this is the annual range for those birds. It's approximately the size of the state of Rhode Island. Now, how do we manage this? Private land, BLM land, state land of various sorts, Forest Service land. How do we protect and conserve these habitats so that we have this sage grouse, this species, for years and years to come? We need to understand the interplay amongst these seasonal habitats and what we can and can't do. This is one of this landscape ecology approach is where we have to go. I'm going to tell you a quick story so you have maybe an even better understanding of the complexity of the situation. Last summer, right about here, I marked a hen and one of her chicks with radios. A week or two later, the hen died, ran into a tractor, and the chick took off. It was a female, and she went up to here, and then she came back down to here, and then she came back down to here during the winter and spring. She was on a lek in this area during the spring. We picked her up again right here in May with a brood of 7. By July, she was within 100 meters of where we caught her the previous summer. Okay? I recaptured her, replaced her radio, and marked 2 of her chicks. Unfortunately, she and one of her chicks stepped off of Jack Webster's ranch and onto Larson's farm and got shot. The other one, this was during the hunting season, took off, went to here, came down to here. Does this look familiar? Mm-hmm. And is now heading back down this way. You figure it out. Because, it's the same steps that her mother took. We're in multiple generations here using these large chunks of real estate. We need to understand why this is going on. There's perfectly good habitat very close, but these birds are using these very large areas. Okay, then we'll go from the large to the small. One of the things we do know is that chick survival is a real problem for sage grouse. We need to better understand the understory and its role in nest success and the survival of young chicks. What kills these things? Why do they seem to be dying now, at least in many areas, at an abnormal rate? We're working on that now in Idaho. We also have to understand that some habitat changes are permanent. There's no way in the world we're going to turn that back into sagebrush steppe. That's that area I showed you from Landsap. But this area, there's some hope for. It may be 20 or 30 years down the road, but one of our challenges is to figure out how to move that back into successful nesting habitat and acceptable winter range for sage grouse. And when we could do that, we'll be well ahead of the game. Okay, Sam, do you have any comments, or do you want to make any corrections to what I said?
After your comment about the guidelines?
Yeah, I'm giving you the last shot. And I hardly ever do that.
Let me see. Jack pretty well summed up those kinds of comments. We do have a lot of data on the small needs of sage grouse, what they need around their nest, how a nest site differs from a random site. We can't overemphasize, though, the landscape scale on these species. In Nevada, we're just barely beginning to look at the landscape scale of these species, but it's a daunting job. Since 1980, in Elko County, Nevada, which is in the northeastern part of the state, we've identified through lek searches over 600 leks. Those 600 leks are essentially lined up, if you clump those, into 30 or 40 populations. But we can't really determine what areas those use unless we go out and do some fairly intensive research. Capture birds, radio birds, look at home ranges, look at their seasonal ranges, summer, winter, fall, those kinds of issues. Once we identify that, then we can start to manage those pieces of habitat for the sage grouse and for the particular components of the needs of that species at that particular time. Really, in Nevada, we're pretty much in infancy. Most of the other western states have resources beyond our capabilities. I have one fellow that works part-time and myself on sage grouse. And we probably have 1,200 leks to look at in the state. But we've moved into a situation now where I've put almost all my biologists in the state on some sort of sage grouse projects. And we're going to work real diligently to start, first of all, to do the delineation work to identify the landscape scale of these species, and then to move into conservation planning, which we're starting right now. But you obviously have to know what you have before you can do the conservation planning strategies. The other final thought on sage grouse, from a habitat standpoint, again, they're a landscape scale species in incredibly low densities, using patches of habitat within that landscape scale. And probably with that,
I should remind everyone that these topics will be further discussed over beer and even